Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is SilverBusters, and today I'm coming at you with another video. Title is Inflation, Is It Finally Going Mainstream? And that's a big topic that seems to be on everybody's lips. I mean, obviously, if you've been around in the silver community as long as I have, or even longer than that, we know about inflation, and we've been talking about it a long time. But this is sort of a new thing. I mean, we're on top of this inflation thing, but the average Joe six pack or even the average corporate boardroom type has not been on the uptake on inflation. And all of a sudden, in the last week or two, it seems like we have gotten message after message, or news story after news story. Boardrooms, if you look at the notes for their quarterly meetings or their board meetings, they're discussing more and more about inflation, and it's kind of hard to ignore because, especially if you are in some kind of industry where you have to do some kind of manufacturing. Obviously, we've talked about lumber prices previously. Steel and iron ore prices are high. The grains are high, so stuff like wheat and soybeans are soaring. Copper is obviously soaring towards, I don't know if it's at all-time highs yet, but it's certainly at numbers that are much higher than they have been previously. So it seems like the inflation narrative, although it's still being denied by officialdom, like they had Janet Yellen kind of flip flop on the inflation talk recently, and of course, the current political administration is saying, "Nah, it's not a big deal. It's transitory." But the number of voices that are actually catching on to the inflation narrative is actually seems to be accelerating at this point. It seems to be not just people who are silverbugs, right? These are people who are in ordinary business, and they're picking up on it. And this is just a search I did for inflation as a topic for the last 30 days on Zero Hedge, and this is what I was talking about: quarterly earnings calls, inflation, and that's obviously a theme in those, and they were going into some of the other themes. And we've got inflation to accelerate. We've got one over here what says the inflation or disinflation debate from April. But a lot of these are more recent. So this is April. And then, of course, we're only in the first week of May here. So inflation rocket launch, buckle up, inflation is here. Inflation is a painful tax as Bitcoin displacing gold as an inflation hedge. Investors do not see transitory inflation. That's the term that the Fed keeps using for inflation, is transitory. So this message seems to be permeating into the markets a little bit deeper than just what you would expect from the normal voices coming out of the silver and gold community, saying that inflation is coming. And so what effect that will have, I'm not 100% sure. This could just be another sign of the acceleration. One note is we did have a good week for silver. Last time I talked to you guys, I believe silver was doing its normal thing where it was huddling around $26. So it got $1.50 pop easily this week. And it came pretty quickly. There was a little bit of chop when it went up to 27 and then gave back 50 cents. But then it just pushed up on higher from there. So price movement has been excellent in silver. And I just want to stop for a second and to thank you guys. The channel passed 300 subscribers. And that sounds like a tiny and pathetic amount compared to some of the channels that are out there. But I just want to thank you guys, whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber, if you're with the Wall Street Silver people, or if you've been doing this since 2008 or even longer than that. Just want to thank you. And if you would, share this if you get the opportunity to people you think it will help them. And we'll go into more information like this that'll help people to be aware and try to find the best way to get them into some silver or gold to protect them going forward. So just wanted to say thanks again. And let's get into a little bit of a the normal check that we do once a week on the retail market for silver. Obviously, the price has gone up, so we're going to see a higher price. But what we're looking at really here is the premiums. So 31.85. We actually might need the calculator today because we are working with some odd numbers. We're not sitting right around even numbers on the. My limited mental capacity is here. So we've got a delay on the 1 ounce rounds. So that is the 23rd. So that's about a 2-week delay on the 1 ounce rounds on SD bullion, a little bit less on the Buffalo if you're willing to pay for a specific design. So if we're looking at a tube there of 32.45, it's probably going to be the best price over here. Yes. So if we take 32, come on computer, you can do it. 32.45 minus current silver spot listed there, and we are coming out to a 49 premium. So still close to $5 spot. One thing that you can say is that at least as the price continues to move up, the premium in percentage terms of your initial investment is going down because it still seems to be incredibly difficult to actually reclaim your premium from these LCSs and dealers and such. They might offer 50 cents or $1 above spot for generic rounds, and probably more than that for Eagles. You know, maybe you'll get $3 over spot for Eagles, but at the same time, they're selling Eagles for $10 or $12 over spot, right? So until we see that gap narrow considerably, I'm happy. This is weird. You know, it's like, yes, would you have been better off buying last week? Probably. But at the same time, you're still underwater if you wanted to flip those silver this week, and that's not an ideal strategy. But I'm just saying, if you bought something and then tragedy struck and somebody got a rare cancer and you had to unload it right away, well, good luck getting the premium back. You know, good. You could try to sell it yourself on eBay, but I hope you have, or Craigslist or something. But I hope you have an armed guard, and eBay is going to take a big cut too. So anyway, beyond my ramblings here, we're looking at 49 on SD bullion for the 1 ounce rounds. If we move over to Ampex. Secondary market, they're listing for a tube 32.59. So let's take 32.59 minus the current spot they list on their website, and we come out with 4.99. So just slightly more on their website, and they're a little bit more shady on their availability. I don't know how deep in you have to go to actually see what the availability is like. Yeah, so they seem to have it. Okay, so we'll move on to Silver Gold Bull. And Silver Gold Bull, if you're getting a tube of the generic silver there, we're going to look at 32.22 minus. They don't have spot listed on their. Oh, they have it down at the bottom there. Okay. These places all list slightly different spot too, so it's bit strange. I guess, you know, that's maybe the difference between the bid ask, something like that. 475 is what we're looking at on Silver Gold Bull. So not that different from a quarter cheaper than Ampex, and maybe 15 cents cheaper than SD bullion. And if we go over to JM bullion, let's see, we've got some here listed as low as, so let's just pick one and see what the tube price is going to be. The tube price is 32.40, and a tube is 20 if you're following along with me there. 32.40 minus the current silver price on their website, which I don't see. Oh, there it is. I had to scroll down to get it. 27.56. and that's 484. So everybody seems to be fighting in a relatively narrow range there. Looks like gold silver bull is still the cheapest, but not by a significant margin. Let's just quickly check the 100 ounce bar for silver. So 100 ounce silver bars. And let's position this by price. And that's still that one, so 31.54. So let's just say, make it easy, we'll say 31.54 minus the 27.56. And so $4. So we're maintaining a pretty similar pattern. You're talking about saving maybe 75 cents an ounce, maybe slightly more than that, to substitute out 100 ounce bars instead of 1 ounce rounds. And let's see if we can find something similar on Ampex Silver. 100 ounce bars has not been the best deal on these the last few weeks that we have looked at these. So 100 ounce silver bars, pre-sale, sale. I don't know. I don't think that's the price they want me to quote, though. Okay. There's a slight delay of 2 weeks, roughly. Okay, that's what they're saying. So if you're getting one of those, you're paying, so 3209 minus 2760, and so 450. Not as much savings there on the 100 ounce bars. And let's take a look over here. Silver bars, 100 ounce bars. Sorted silver bars, we're getting one of those. 57.76. So of course I don't need the full amount, so give me 31.57 minus 27.47 and 4.1. So actually it looks like the 100 ounce bars were a little bit better deal on SD bullion, which is interesting. And then we'll see if JM bullion has any. Silver bars, going to 100 ounce bars, and silver bar very conditioned. I mean, they're saying out of stock here. They're listing this one at the same as low as price, so we'll just use that as 31.55. 31.55 minus their listed price for silver. So we're looking at, again, $4. So pretty much across the board, you're weighing that 75 to $1 savings to compare a 100 ounce bar to a 1 ounce rounds. So do the math appropriately. If you're swimming in 100 ounce, 1 ounce rounds already, it might be time to just start stacking the 100 ounce bars, or the 1,000 ounce bars, if you can get a hold of them. You remember, if you saw my video on the chopped COMEX bars and how excited I was about just those heaps of silver that were going for $250 over spot. Yeah, that you know the meme where Dave Chappelle is doing modern problems require modern solutions, and yeah, I need to make that meme on and include that. I'll make that and attach it to my video as a thumbnail, because that's just an awesome thing. Anyway, guys, things are getting more exciting. I ran into, and this is just anecdotal, but I was just doing my normal day job stuff, and I had to run to the post office, and I ran into some Lyndon LaRouche supporters camping out in front of the post office, soliciting donations and putting out knowledge. And I decided to play with them a little bit. I said, hey, do you have a 401k? Because we can have a hyperinflation and all of that could be gone over a long weekend. And she's like, no, I don't have a 401k. And I was a little surprised. And I'm like, well, that's great. and they were trying to tell me about Lyndon LaRouche's plan and getting back to Alexander Hamilton's plan. And I guess they didn't plan to run into somebody with a history degree. So I said, I'm more of a Jacksonian. Let's burn down the Federal Reserve and go back to gold and silver. And they were surprised by that. I don't think they were prepared to engage with somebody that had had any kind of background in history or knowledge of economics and these economic history, essentially. But we got along pretty well because we had a little chat, and I told them, hey, I'm long past the age where I have to 100% agree with somebody, because I do think at the very least they're spreading knowledge about the economy, and they are telling people to potentially prepare for hyperinflation. And so they're moving in the right direction, even if I don't think they're 100% on spot. And if you haven't learned that lesson, no information source is ever going to be 100% reliable. Even me, you think your information is 100% reliable, but you have to be prepared to keep an open mind and change your mind. And even if somebody who provides you a lot of good information ordinarily, says something crazy or stupid because of their background or their bias, or because they're trying to push some entertainment value into their product or something. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why people miss the mark. And you can't discard everybody who has one little thing that you're not agree with, right? So I told these people, like, hey, me and you, if we were the opposite parties in some kind of neo-American system, we could come to the table and come to some sort of agreement, right? Because at least you're willing to look at the truth and see what the problems are ahead of us, and you might have a slightly different solution in mind, but we could come out to, it seems like you're reasonable enough that we could come out to some terms. And they were pretty positive about that, and I gave them a couple bucks because they're standing out there in the heat. Well, I mean, it's still spring, but it's spring in Texas, so it was a pleasant day, but it was still bright and sunny, and they could have been doing something else. They could have just been enjoying the day, and instead they were trying to educate people about potential economic problems. And for that, I kind of salute them. And that's like another sign, I think, of this going mainstream. I hadn't run into any LaRouche people since, I've seen some back in the day out in front of gun shows, back in like the 2008 period. And then I ran into some all the way back in college. I went to a mainstream university, luckily before a lot of this woke stuff completely took over. And there was some LaRouche folks there too who would set up a table every once in a while to hand out pamphlets and stuff. But honestly, I haven't heard much out of LaRouche or LaRouche PAC or anything like that. They haven't made any waves that have reached me recently, and this is interesting that they have in the last few days. And like I said, I don't 100% agree with, I'd have to research what they think a national bank is, because I think a national bank is just going to be taken over by the next political party after you vote in some. They'll vote in some yahoos. They may start out with good intentions, and then they'll move in with some yahoos the next one, and they'll be printing money to fund the welfare state and the military state. The military industrial complex, and that's what I'm trying to get people to understand, is that any political position or power that you create, you have to imagine that power in the hands of your political opponents, right? Once they get their hands on it. So what would some crazy folks do, or some people who don't have the interests of the nation at large or long-term interest in thought? Of course, they're going to fund the welfare state with that power. And that's the one thing I really think they're missing, and like, if they're going to have this national credit system, are they going to force people to be in a captive audience? Are they going to ban gold and silver so that they can fund these massive programs out of people's inflating people's savings away? And like they say, they're going to use it for productive purposes, and that will remove inflation. But like I said, imagine that power once it's in the hands of the opposition. And even then, I'm thinking, how's an American state-run industry going to be any more efficient than a Chinese state-run industry, right? Where they're continually lagging behind these state-owned companies. Are they going to sell the companies off? so that they have profit motive and profit incentive and not just getting infinite money from the government. So you run into a lot of the same problems you ran into before. But at the same time, I think they're doing work to protect people, and I haven't gotten into 100% of what their platform is or how they would work around some of these problems. Somebody has probably thought about this stuff, but I just found that interesting that they were back out in force in my little suburb, and thought I'd mention it to you guys. It might be interesting. Just a part of the theme of today's topic is that everybody is awareness seems to be expanding of inflation, and maybe not specifically the silver story yet, but the door may be shut by the time these folks get to them. It'll be the mania phase before the rest of the general public can get into silver. Anyway, it's Mother's Day, so I'm going to get prepared to go see my mom. Hope you guys are having a great Mother's Day wherever you are. This is SilverBusters signing off. Like and subscribe to the channel. Please share this information if you think it's worth it. Have a great day.